I read that focusing on life's small pleasures can make you happier. So I tried it out for a month and I'm happy to report that it worked. Like, it kind of worked. It was a lovely experiment. What is a small pleasure? A small pleasure is just that, something that brings joy to you. It's a touch of charm that instigates a warm, fuzzy feeling inside you. Small pleasures are often cheap or free. At the very least, they're readily available. And even though they're seemingly trivial, they produce bang for their buck in terms of happiness.
Yummy.
Because small pleasures are commonplace, they're often overlooked. Probably why you don't hear artists waxing lyrical about hot baths. On the other hand, big pleasures are talked about a lot and they're posted about a lot. Big pleasures are obvious. You know them. Marriage, a new job, a house, an overseas tourist attraction, the big stuff. So one might then safely assume that the more expensive or famous or rare or exclusive or large scale a pleasure is, the more pleasure it brings. Well, not necessarily, because pleasure is a weird beast. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've ever not liked something that you're supposed to like. Small pleasures are only really small because they haven't had their time in the spotlight. They haven't got that blue check mark of awesomeness. And just because they don't get the kudos they deserve doesn't mean that small pleasures can't charm the pants off you more than any lobster or crowded water fountain or painting of lilies ever could. On to the experiment. I tried to identify and write down 3 small pleasures every day for a month. Like all good journeys, I'll start with a Google Sheet. Beautiful governor. 1 sec. That's all good, see, dude. How about this for a small pleasure? Receiving something that you forgot that you ordered. It's not very exciting. It's just an extra charger for a camera battery, but exciting to receive a gift. Is that what my first pleasure is? I think that's it, surprising yourself. In the beginning, it was tricky, and days that I was an inside cat seemed more challenging than days that I was out in the world. But noticing small pleasures got easier as I went, and there were days that I was done by lunchtime. Like day 22, for example, I had done trick shots with my mate Tommy, and had a toasted sandwich and a therapeutic haircut, all done by 10:30 in the morning. I think I'm about day 23 and I have filmed approximately 3 of those small pleasures. I've realized that so often I don't really appreciate the small things in the moment because I'm kind of doing it after the fact. I'm not really filming the small pleasures themselves. So that's maybe kind of a problem for future Baz. Sorry, future Baz. Yeah, that's fine. Past Baz, just don't do it again. What I've done is I've collated the month's worth of small pleasures and I've just picked out my favorite ones and made them into a montage for you. For this experiment, I read the aptly named Small Pleasures by The School of Life. It's awesome. I mean, I highly recommend any of their stuff. They point out that small pleasures act as a kind of therapy, and they have different buckets that the small pleasures operate in. Remembering, hope, dignity of suffering, rebalancing, self-understanding, growth, and appreciation. I'll explain each one using my own examples. A big one for me this month has been remembering, because we forget stuff. We forget so much stuff. We forget what we like. For me, as a throwback song, playing a real piano and checking out photos from childhood, and you're like, oh yeah. Making new friends at sunset, beautiful flowers, and getting the uncontrollable giggles can provide a little hope in contrast to the cynicism and despair that we so often feel. Small pleasures can point to an area of growth in your life. So my examples were trying a new recipe, fixing something that was broken, and getting out of an escape room. Small pleasures can help you understand yourself. It's like finding a tiny piece of the jigsaw puzzle that is your random life. So for me, it was an unexpected evening alone, a free museum exhibit, and a chat with a bestie on a long car ride. What do I want to do with my life? Small pleasures can provide dignity to our suffering. Now, thankfully, I only had one of these in my entire month, and it was a blanket. When I was sick and laid out on the couch for like 3 days, the blanket was very comforting. I think that probably any form of self-care would come under this category, or just like anything that makes life a little less sucky. Small pleasures can administer much needed rebalancing. And for a lot of people, that's the whole weekend. I know for me personally, my examples of rebalancing mostly came on the weekend, spending time with my big ass family, a long bath, an afternoon nap, a walk along the beach at sunset, very rebalancing. And finally, as a kind of catch-all category for small pleasures, appreciation. Many small pleasures that bring us joy kind of get glossed over and we don't give them a second thought. So taking time to acknowledge them helps us appreciate them. Small pleasures as industries. Celebrating certain types of small pleasures seems odd, whereas others seem quite normal. And a lot of this has to do with culture. Culture says that this thing is legitimate, this thing is weird. That brings us to another point that the School of Life makes, which is about small pleasures and industries. So an industry will build around a small pleasure. That small pleasure will gain status, goes from obscurity and becomes normalized. It becomes legitimate. 2 examples. The first one, cherry blossoms in Japan. For about a month every spring, people go bonkers for sakura trees. Sakura trees? Sakura trees.
Sakura.
Sakura trees. People lose their minds, and I get it, they're unreal. But there are plenty of fields of cherry blossoms across the entire globe. For example, China, Korea, India, Pakistan, England, and even parts of North America. This brings us to my second example, which is skiing. I'm led to believe that skiing is just sliding down the side of a snowy mountain on either 1 or 2 pieces of fiberglass. And there's a massive industry built around it. People pilgrimage to very far destinations that cater to this one small pleasure. There are resorts that provide accommodation and restaurants and bars and daycares, and you can get lessons. What a really fun, cold time. It all seems quite normal, doesn't it? Ski resort. But what if I said rollerblade resort? What if I said skateboard resort? What if I said unicycle resort? You get my point. Checking out cherry blossoms in Japan or traveling to ski resorts the world over seems like a very normal and fun way to spend your time. And it is, but we've been encouraged to pay attention to these particular small pleasures, sometimes by very clever marketing. And there's been a whole industry built around that small pleasure that has legitimized it. Final thoughts. After a month of paying very close attention to the small pleasures in my life, I can safely say that it's a great thing. It's a very worthwhile endeavor. For me, no surprises there. Counting your blessings actually makes you feel better. That's scientifically proven. Therefore, I hate to admit it, but hashtag blessed is actually a thing. A deep sense of gratitude boosts well-being and can have a positive impact on self-esteem and depression. Only focusing on small things does seem a bit funny, like it seems like a silly thing to do, but that's only because so many small pleasures haven't been properly appreciated or collectively admired. Small pleasures can bring as much joy as supposedly big pleasures like owning a big thing or visiting a big thing. Give me a hot bath and a good podcast over champagne and caviar any day of the week.